Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Property Maintenance Show. We are really excited for our second episode. And here we are once again with Paul Quayle and Albert Taylor and
Yep.
myself, Lucy. Okay, so we are really excited to start. And our topic for today is going to be vendor onboarding with property management companies and behind the scenes for property management industry.
Mm.
Okay, so starting off with our first question, it is why has it become increasingly difficult for vendors to work with property management companies directly? And I would like to start off with Albert. Could you tell us what you think on this?
Absolutely, yes. Well, me and Paula, we used to work as property coordinators, as a lot of you already know. And we do know that certain property coordinators, not all of them, do have their favorites. Some for, well, good reasons and some for other reasons. But yeah, they just have their go-to guy to do this and that. Usually a handyman in most of the cases, just somebody who does almost everything, including plumbing, even though they're not supposed to. And there are some not so good reasons, like money kickbacks. So sometimes they get a little money from the vendors who do the jobs. So that could be a big issue too with other vendors trying to get in. So yeah, it's something we don't really get into too much because it's controversial. Well, I am a controversial type guy though, so I will definitely touch that base. So I know a lot of people don't want to even talk about that. It's like, don't talk about that, be quiet. Like the look I'm getting from Paul right now. But yeah, I will. I'll definitely stop on that monster and yeah, I'll put it out there because it is definitely an issue out there. So new vendors are trying to get in, but these old vendors are just like giving some money to the property coordinator. So they're really afraid to change because they're in the pocket. So yeah, I'm definitely not afraid to talk about that. So definitely an obstacle there.
Okay, yes, I totally understand. Paul, would you like to give us your opinion on this?
Yes, certainly. So I really do like this question, and I'm going to give my opinion on this. The first thing I want to say is I think it becomes increasingly difficult because, for example, when a vendor does get on board with with a property management company, right? The either the property manager or the office manager, whoever may be in charge of vendor onboarding, they I feel they overpromise, right? So they make the vendor believe they're going to get all these work orders and all these jobs and things are going to go great for them and they're convinced, right? So then they come on board and then all of a sudden they may get one or two to start with and then it just goes completely blank. And then that really frustrates a vendor and it kind of goes back to where, the property coordinators that work in the maintenance department, they're just going to be using the vendors that they have more favoritism over rather than the new vendor to give them an opportunity and to build the business relationship. And it does make it extremely difficult for new vendors to build that business relationship with property management companies. And I do believe that is definitely one of the main issues there as well.
hmm Okay. Well, before we change questions, if I can just put something in there, I know from experience, it's not always property coordinator's fault. I know I had my times too when I tried to call vendors. It's like, all right, I really want to work with this guy. All right, I can't wait. You're calling him. Oh, you didn't answer. Okay, I'll call him again. All right, I'll send him a text message and hey, what's up with this dude? He's not answering my phone calls. Now he's trying to get back with me, but then he's complaining he doesn't get work orders. Like, well, no, I need you to answer my phone call. So that's kind of the first thing I threw out there with new vendors. Say, yeah, I want to work with a property management company. Are you going to answer the phone? Yeah, kind of like you got to kind of do that if you want to get a work order, you know? Like a small little tiny itty bitty prerequisite. Answer your phone. man. So yeah, it's one of the things I ran into. Yeah, because I wanted to give jobs to everybody. And Paul did too. But that's just a obstacle we found. And Paul would be like, "Hey, did you try text?" Yeah, I tried text, and this guy is like just ignoring me. So yeah, we kind of had to be realistic too. I mean, got to answer your phone, right? But okay, yeah, I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, totally. I agree with everything you both have said with all these difficulties that may come up dealing with these property management companies. But yeah,
Hmm.
I totally agree. Okay, so moving on to our second question. Paul, did you have anything to say?
I
Okay.
did, and that was a good thing you caught there just before we move on.
Okay.
Um, I want to say I agree with Albert. There is those types of cases where it's the vendor's fault. They're being non-responsive and they're causing the lack of work orders. Well, I guess with property management companies, they give work to vendors that are responsive,
Hmm.
right? It is kind of based on favoritism as well. I know we are going to get into that shortly to discuss that in more detail, why we think that is. Price as well, quality of service, and really a vendor going the extra mile. But I do want to say that if a vendor is like that, there must be an internal issue. And
Hmm.
I just really wish that some of the property management companies out there made more efforts to figure out what's wrong with this vendor, why these things happening, help them address these issues. And again, I believe we are going to get into that also, but that's just my take on it at the moment. But I will get into more detail shortly.
That's good.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That's really insightful. I like to hear both of your guys' opinions and obviously speaking from your experience and all you guys have. So yeah, that's great. So moving
Hmm.
on to our next question. What kind of obstacles do the property management maintenance department experience and how does this impact the maintenance vendors?
Okay.
I would like to start off with Paul, maybe on this one. Would you like to go first?
Yes, of course. So
Go ahead.
this question is is good because we get to openly discuss different obstacles that the property management maintenance departments go through. Um, I would say one of the obstacles that can impact vendors in general is definitely approvals, so work order approvals. If a property coordinator is not trained correctly to push the approval for the vendor, it does mean that the vendor will suffer, financially. And from a business point of view, they will be visiting the property, conducting inspection, pictures, giving a PDF estimate. And then at the end of all that process, and then, you know, it's costing them money on their gasoline and their time as well. And then they're told, yeah, the owner doesn't approve or the owner has dispatched their own vendor.
Hmm.
So I do feel that is probably one of the biggest obstacles that vendors in today's industry are currently suffering with. And it's so hard to resolve. I can only say that I hope the property management companies really focus on their training more. I know that's wishing for the stars by saying
Hmm.
that, right? But I'm a believer and I'm really hoping that they could put some more focus into that.
Okay, yes, totally.
Okay.
Albert, do you have anything to say on this?
No, no, I'm just kidding. Um, Actually, I'm not so much a believer. I do think property management companies have a really big obstacle. Yeah, a lot of them are just like focused on the money, not so much on training because that costs time. Time is money. So like, yeah, we'll just leave training as a secondary thing. So yeah, they're in for a rough ride for sure. And yeah, once they get their act together, I mean, there's some property management companies. My biggest hurdle in the property management industry was the maintenance limit. So $300. I mean, come on, man. That's like you can buy a soda and some bubble gum, and it barely pays for the gasoline. It's like, come on, yeah, it's barely $500. Yeah, okay, yeah, we can do something with that. You have to call the homeowner over $300. Oh, it's gonna be like $305. They're like, oh, I don't want to approve because, and it just opens a lot of doors, right? It's a Pandora's box. So if you have $500 to work with, yeah, you can get decent approval or repair. You can go ahead and authorize it. So definitely, I would say the number one obstacle is the maintenance limit. I hated having $300. I mean, I'm just so tempted just to divide the job up, two work orders for $300 just to get it done, right? 'Cause you know it's a necessary repair, but you know the owner's not gonna go for it. They don't. Who cares, right? If there's like water pouring through the roof, right, onto their kitchen, it's like, that's not a big deal. So yeah, it's well, $500 you can work with that, right? So yeah, I would say that's the number one problem in the coordinator business.
That's so unfortunate. I don't think many of us actually think about this and about all these limits you guys have on the other end and how it is. So yeah, that's really good that you guys are telling us about this because not all of us have this information.
Mhm.
So, okay, so moving on to the next one, I think this one's actually really interesting. And this is, what does the day-to-day routine look like for a property coordinator? And Albert, would you like to tell us what it was like
Yeah,
when you were?
do you want a serious answer or? Yeah, I mean it's all
Totally, I want the
yeah,
truth. I want the behind the scenes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's only fun and games. Everybody's happy and yeah, it's just harmony, peace. It's no, it's quite the opposite actually. On a serious note, yeah, it's like everybody's going for the juggler there. You're just overloaded with work orders. As some of these property management companies actually believe you could have 100 plus work orders and still survive. Like, when's the last time you've done a work order and if you go like over 40, I think it was Paul, you're like, yeah, if you're over 40, you're in trouble. So yeah, you're updating notes, and if you're doing it the right way, you're trying to get 40 work orders in, you're epic. Yeah, 45, yeah, everybody's like, okay, and she like, I don't want to be in your shoes. So there's actually some business owners. They think, yeah, I heard a podcast. Yeah, they can have 140 work orders and still survive. It's like, no, no, yeah, it's a, you can, but you're not adding notes or anything. You're just like skimming through them. Like, yeah, it's a nasty type dance. But yeah, it's angry homeowners, angry tenants, HOAs. Oh my gosh, you don't want to go through an HOA. That's bad. Or insurance claims. I mean, it is dicey. So you have to be really agile. You have to be good at controlling your nerves, or you're just gonna break down. Like Paul said, yeah, there's been people just break down and cry, just like shaking, like I can't do it anymore. Well, yeah, we've all had our breaking point, right? You say, okay, I'm gonna do this or I'm not. And so yeah, I've been there. Paul's been there. It's like, yeah, it's just that one moment. He's like, oh, yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, it's yeah, either find a way to do it or I just quit. So yeah, it's no fun and games, no joking. People try to be funny, but it's really serious business there.
This does seem a little overwhelming. But okay, so Paul, would you like to give us your side on this?
Yes. So I quickly want to recap on the previous question just before I get to this question. Um, I know Albert mentioned the maintenance limit, which I absolutely agree with, is definitely a big obstacle. And I do blame the property management companies because they have the power to increase that maintenance limit. So the fact that they're keeping it at $300, for example, would be affecting their workflow process. So it's really up to them to change that. They're just afraid. I believe they're probably just afraid of, oh, what is our homeowners going to say? Well, if you are a professional property management company, you should take control and, stress to the homeowner why this change is happening. Make it clear. But clearly they won't change it. It stays the same, and it does create that problem. And there's even times like, they're so strict with it. Like even if you're $1 over the limit,
Mm-hmm.
like imagine that, like it's $305. Then you have to convince the vendor, like, oh, can you take $5 off? Right? That's just an example, but it's definitely very frustrating for a property coordinator, kind of in that work environment, I would say. But yeah, increasing the maintenance limit would help. I wouldn't say it would resolve it 100%. There's still those obstacles again to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Once the maintenance limit's gone, then you've got to start asking approval.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Now, going on to the next question that has been asked, a day-to-day routine in the maintenance department is you'll come into work at 9 o'clock. Your email is absolutely insane. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
what I think one morning I came into over 100 emails, up to 200, and I have to get through all them in a day because
Mm-hmm.
some of them are urgent and need the immediate attention. Then work order rates have reached as high as 70, I believe. Like
Mm-hmm.
now it's been quite a high number, and it's not good when, you know, a property management company and people that own that company believe that you're able to manage like 100 and 150 work orders. I think they're delusional.
Yeah.
I think they're living in Disneyland with the seven dwarfs, dancing around. They don't know what they're saying,
Yeah.
right?
Literally.
They just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this is just baffling that they actually want to openly say that. Like, oh, they can handle 150. In my mind, I'm like, have you ever tried it yourself? Have you ever tried managing 150 orders? I don't think you have. You just like speak these things that make you think, oh, we can do 150. I'm sorry, but it's laughable. I find that absolutely hilarious. Like for again, I'm gonna say this. This is my opinion, and if any property management company out there in the United States is saying to their employees, and I'm gonna say this allegedly, okay, that if they are saying it, they're delusional.
Yeah.
You just need to get back down to reality, have a look at your employees, and ask them what's best. They're the ones that are working on maintenance every day. Again, this comes back again. For our viewers listening, you should have a listen to our previous episode because I do speak about these founders or presidents of property management companies haven't been on the field in 20 years. They're just sitting behind a desk. So they don't really know what they're speaking about unless they've actually ran a mile in a property coordinator's shoes. That's my take on this. But
Mm-hmm.
day to day is very stressful.
But well, before we change questions, there are some variables. I know the standards we used to work on were like 30 days was like, that's the limit. If you reach 30 days and there's red lights everywhere. And there's other property management companies, they don't have that what do you call that? That roof of 30 days. It might be 60 or 90. So maybe, yeah, we're actually talking about 30 days. That's our limit on all the work orders. So yeah, that might make sense for some who actually have a limit a little higher.
to your point there, Albert, it would actually be less than 30 if the operations manager of a property management company actually got involved
Mm.
properly.
Mhm.
I feel, again, I'm going to say this allegedly because I can't speak about every single property management company, but there is a slight pattern that we can discuss here, is that when an escalation happens, it seems that the director of operations is nowhere to be found. He's, you
Mhm.
know, they've basically dug themselves a little rabbit hole and they've put themselves in there.
Mhm.
They go, oh, I'm
Unavailable.
out of the office, so put my phone to voicemail. I'm not here.
Mhm.
So that's why most of the time it goes past the duration due date.
Mm.
It's because of the lack of support.
True. Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
their management styles, again, going to say most of them, right? So anyone that trying to quote me is going to be incorrect here. I'm saying most of the property management companies' management style is outdated.
Mhm.
Wow, I just think everything you guys are saying is unbelievable. I would never imagine everything about the emails and everything in general. I'm just like, wow, it's so much stress on these people working in these areas and everything. So I can't imagine
Mhm.
how they run their day to day. So yeah, it's
But
unbelievable.
you know what? Well, to answer that question too, we also recommended some fixes to help them, and they just ignored us. So yeah, let them eat it up.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Okay, so moving on to the next question. We have this one, which is how do property coordinators rate their vendors? And I would like to go first with Paul.
They rate them on a couple of things. So responsiveness is number one. Number two, price. Number three, quality of service. Number four, I would say warranty coverage. And number five, I would say the vendor going an extra mile for them. I'd say that's how they would rate their vendors. And then again, it comes into favoritism. We'll be getting to that very shortly. I keep saying it, but I know the
Mhm.
question is there
Yeah,
somewhere
just a
in
few more minutes.
our agenda today. So
Yeah.
that's that would be my thoughts there on that question.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I would like to hear you, Albert.
Okay. Yeah, of course I have something crazy to say, right, about that. Yeah. Well, I would say everything Paul said, that's exactly right. I mean, that's actually how we had our meetings, responsiveness and everything else. But I'm a more sentimental guy. I mean, if there's a really nice vendor who's having a hard time, I will actually work with him. I mean, I've gone so far. Paul told me not to, just to say this. I actually went into Google and I created them a little Google Forms and actually put all their little address in there where they had to go. I was actually trying to be their secretary. I was like, I'm helping you, man. So, so Paul said, yeah, don't do that. You're doing too much. Yeah, I was, but yeah, I'm still trying to work with this guy. I know he's having a hard time. Doesn't have a secretary. I don't know if he wants one. Maybe he can call us later. But but yeah, I mean, I was more than willing to help him out if he would help me out. Like Paul said, just going the extra mile. If there's a urgent work order after hours, if he would do it, I would be more than willing to help him out. So yeah, well, in a personal rating, I would secretly have my own little rating on the side after the meeting. It's like, yeah, he's number one, but I have my number one. So that's a little favoritism, but in a nice way.
So, but before we finish this question, right? Something's popped into my mind here. So when I said my answer, that was in a way of my opinion of what the standards are.
Mhm.
But then if we really ask ourselves, what do we think the property management's standards are? Because sometimes I feel it maybe isn't to do with any of those points I made. Like the points I've made is actually correct, and that's how it should be. But I haven't really seen that a lot. So like, it's just kind of like, you know, what is their mindset at times?
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Disneyland mentality. They're not with it sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So
I would, to be honest, I always ignore the meetings. I have my own list. So whoever's more responsive to me and who's cool with me and who's not like really angry and stuff like that. I would have my own list over here. It's be like I have my number 1, 2, and 3. Then I have my emergency ones. Actually,
mhm.
that's a true story. Yeah, I have that on OneNote over here. And yeah, I see the things in our meeting. Yeah, this is number 1. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, he'll be number 1. Yeah, secretly over here, I have my own number 1.
Yep,
Yeah.
I
Okay,
agree.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you guys have anything else to add on to this one before we skip to the next one?
We probably could, but yeah, I think we kind of answered it. Yeah.
Okay, yes. So this next question is totally linked to what we are just speaking about. And this one is, why do property management companies play favoritism with vendors and do not share the work orders available to all vendors in their list equally? And I think Paul is eagerly wanting to answer this one.
Mm-hmm. He's biting his
Go
nails.
ahead, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
Right. So I love this question because I'm gonna say why, first of all, favoritism doesn't work, right? What happens is they'll pick a vendor that they like, right? Let's say, they're responsive and, they've did discounts here and there. But what goes wrong with that is the vendor ends up exhausted or overworked. So if, for example, if you really like a handyman vendor, right, and you're giving him like 20 work orders, just because he's your favorite, that's your guy, right? That's your go-to. But then when you look at the software and you're looking on the system, he's got like 20 tickets and he's struggling. He's just one handyman in his truck. Like, and nobody cares about him. That's what really upsets me, right? Is that, yeah, he's your favorite, but do you actually care about this vendor whatsoever? Because he's got 20 work orders, he's drowning, nobody's, and he doesn't want to say anything because he's afraid that you'll stop giving him work. So he's afraid, right? But the fact is that nobody's, and again, this is just what I've saw, right? And again, allegedly, it could be happening with other property management companies. I solely believe, in my opinion, it is, right? And it's just, it's sad and it's heartbreaking. It really is. And, you know, yeah, he's great, but then you start saying, oh, he's not great because he can't perform with 20 tickets.
Yeah.
Well, realistically, no vendor can unless they're the big company and they have like multiple staff and they have lots of people that pick up the phone. If it's just one vendor, he has a truck and he just has a cell phone. Like, understand his position.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, like it's just again,
Yeah.
this Disneyland mentality. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they go, oh, that's my favorite, and then there's like 4 other handyman on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you distributing them evenly? What? Because you don't like the guy, or oh yeah, last time they messed up a repair. Well, how about talking to the person, working it out, making a better business relationship? That's the whole problem here. That's why, favoritism doesn't work. That's my review. That,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, all right, he's your favorite vendor, cool, but giving him 20 work orders, it's gonna end up, oh, he's no longer my favorite. I don't like him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Okay. No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, it's unfortunately a lot of property coordinators. It's a 9 to 5 job or 9 to 6 for some, so they really don't care. They get paid and they're not interested in making friends with vendors or anything. Thankfully, yeah, me and Paul, that's kind of the common ground we have. We do actually care. So yeah, it's kind of the reason I made my Google Forms to help this. I had my favorite handyman, I'll admit. So I was sending them everywhere. And I knew it was getting saturated because people would take a peek into my work orders and, oh, he's using this vendor a lot. He must be really good. So apart from my 20 work orders, he was getting like 20 and another 20 here. And yeah, he's getting saturated. So I thought, okay, I'll make him a Google Forms and yeah, give him some tools to work with because I know this guy didn't have a secretary. It did kind of work, yeah. It was a lot of work on my part too, but yeah, well, I would make he would actually earn to be my favorite. So I'd be like, hey, tomorrow morning, can you do this job because it's really urgent? So he'd actually like push all the jobs aside and do that one. So yeah, it was based on that. But yeah, if I could spread the jobs out, I mean, not everybody responds the same way. Like, yeah, I'll do it next week, and they would really make the effort to give priority to the work I gave them. So yeah, that's kind of my standards for if you want to be my favorite, then you have to work with me. Yeah, I know but yeah, favorites for a lot of people, like Paul said, it's just because they can do it fast, and when they stop doing it fast, and they're not their favorite anymore, and they drop them down the list. So yeah.
Well, yeah, it's more like it's heartbreaking, right?
Hmm.
If a vendor's so much their favorite, you should actually care about their well-being
Hmm.
and understand that giving them 20 work orders is just selfish. It's absolutely selfish. And then they're no longer your favorite, what, just because you gave them 20 tickets and they can't handle it. How is that their fault? That's the PC. And again, it not just linked to the PC, but lack of training from upper management. Again, apparently you know, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, viewers. It's too much sometimes, right? Where you have these presidents on these other podcasts talking. They they haven't been on the field for ages, and I've
Hmm.
never heard once anybody say what we're saying today. And it's absolutely a historic episode this to actually talk about these topics.
Yeah.
Um, and it's sad they're doing this dump and go strategy, right? So it's the favorite, give him 20, he fails, he flops,
Hmm.
then they don't take any accountability for it. They blame everything, oh, the vendor's fault, everything's the vendor. Then, like Albert said, it gets put to the bottom of the list. And then it could be
Hmm.
even worse from like, oh, we're never using him again.
Right. Yeah.
It's sad.
It did happen when we were there in that job position. Yeah, there were some good vendors that got dropped to the bottom, and yeah, and we got instructions not to use them anymore. So yeah, it does happen.
Okay, so do you guys think visiting the offices actually increase a vendor's odds of getting work orders again? Whoever would
Hmm.
like to go first is
Okay.
okay.
Who wants to raise their hand? Yeah, I can raise my hand.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, Albert.
I mean, yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, yeah, you could always know the secretary at least, right? But yeah, I think it does work. I mean, they could already be on the vendor list. They're just been kind of forgotten. So a lot of property coordinators, they don't really dig into the database to see the existing vendors that are already there. They just go what's on the list that's coming from the meeting. So actually digging in there and calling them, hey, do you still work for us? And yes, no, or do you want some jobs? That's not a thing. That's too much work. So yeah, I definitely think, yeah, dropping by the office and maybe, I don't know if you want to take donuts or not, but yeah, definitely going by there, introducing yourself, telling them, yeah, I'm available for work. You have anything? Yeah, I definitely think that helps.
Okay, Paul, what do you think?
I think it does work if the vendor has the correct strategy before going into the office, that they make sure they speak to the right person who they should be speaking to, explaining if they're a current vendor on the list, they should be explaining why they should be given more work, making their case. If it's a vendor trying to go on board, they should be going in again and presenting their services and why they should be chosen, right? So, of course, like giving snacks or donuts or coffee is an additional kind of perk, right, to add on. But at the same time, you must be prepared and have the correct strategy. So it's not just the fact of going there and dropping off your brochure or your booklet or your flyer, whatever it may be. There's more to it than that. And I would say to any vendor out there visiting property management offices that if you're ever struggling trying to get in with property management companies, you can contact us. Again, our information is always available on our live episodes and in our YouTube description as well. And please do not hesitate to email us or contact us. We're very happy to help you in any way. Going on to Albert's point, he said in his answer as well, like, PCs are just too lazy to look down the list. Like they're just picking, again, back to what I said previously, like just picking that number one person. And, and again, another thing Albert said, like they treat it like a 9-to-5 job. And it's just, sometimes it's disappointing that they're just hiring these individuals that just have no passion and care for the industry. And they don't look at the vendor and what they go through to create that balance on relationship. So sometimes, and again, I'm not going to say all property coordinators, but you'll have, I would say, majority of them treat it like a 9-to-5. There's no passion. And I always say this: if you should be in a job that you're actually happy with. You should be waking up and coming into work every day and say, I feel happy today. If you're not feeling that way, maybe a different career or look for something else. It's maybe not for you. But continuing to be in that industry is creating a ripple effect on, the maintenance industry in general, the property management industry in general. It's lowering customer service. Homeowners are starting to trust property management companies less and less when these things happen. So again, I can only hope that people hearing us today take our opinions and feedback on board.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And Paul, going back to what you were saying about these property management companies hiring their maintenance vendors, do you think that these property management companies have any loyalty to their maintenance vendors?
No, zero loyalty. That is my opinion. The reason I say it is I've seen it myself. I've witnessed it. Albert has also seen this as well. There is no loyalty, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I wish it stopped, and I wish there was change. Like Albert says, it's probably not going to happen, unfortunately, because majority of them think this is the right way to behave in business, and it's not. It's a horrible strategy that they just need to abolish. And again, that's why we have our business. We're here to help vendors, support vendors, guide them, and try to help them to make sure that these things don't happen to them. They need the right information. They need the right support. And again, we here at Optagon Work Services are here for you.
Okay, thank you for this, Paul. Albert, do you agree on what Paul was saying?
I don't know. Yeah, of course I do.
What's
Yeah.
your opinion?
Yeah, we've been in the same boat. We've seen the same things. There's no loyalty. The way I said it, there's no love, right? Yeah, we can both relate to vendors. That's why we actually started this company. Because I know the handyman who's up on a ladder getting stung by bees and trying to fix something and nobody really cares about. And I know, yeah, I can hear the pain. I can hear on the phone, yeah, I'm up here and oh, don't talk to me. Yeah, we'll just talk once you get that settled. But other property coordinators, they don't give I think you have a better word to say, a rat's, yeah, just complete that. Yeah, they don't care if he's getting stung by bees or not. Might get electrocuted or something. They don't care. They just want the work order approved, done, cut the check, and that's it. On to the next.
Yeah, they're more like, oh, you got stung by bees. You are insured, right?
Well, like that.
You do. You have liability insurance, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're not liable for you falling, are we? That's them. That's the first thing they think about. Oh, it's not going to cause a lawsuit here, is it? Or it's just not going to be an issue. And then coming back, unfortunately, vendors think it's loyalty at first, right? This is where it gets me very frustrated,
Kind of twisted.
right? They twist it, but they're
Mhm.
just using them until the vendor's burnt out, and then they just dump.
On to the
Who's
next.
next?
Mhm.
Now we're here to try and make sure a vendor never gets burnt out. That's why we have our company, so that they're always staying consistent in their business. So, yep.
Yeah, this is quite sad. I think this is an amazing topic since there is a lot of things to discuss. And I think there's obviously way more things we could be talking about. But I really appreciate you guys and your opinions and giving us a little intro on how it is actually, like the truth behind the scenes, like the topic did say, in this property management industry. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys and everything you guys have been saying today. Okay, well, this is all for today. I really want to thank you guys for watching us and stay tuned for a part 2.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. See you later.
Bye.